I guess. Well, good morning, everyone. What is our quorum?
We have one now.
Okay. I'd like to welcome everybody this morning to the Thursday, February 13th Advanced Plans Committee meeting. I know John McKay is not going to be able to be here today. He's running some errands for his sick wife, but he does plan on being here for the MAPC. I'd like to start out with a roll call.
I can go ahead and do that for you, sir. Let's see, Johnson. Here. Miles. Here. Warren.
Here.
Aldrich.
Here.
And then I have Nix, McKay, and Mater absent.
And thank you very much. We also have the next item, agenda item, would be the meeting summary approval. Is there a motion to accept?
Approve the summary.
We have a motion and a second. Now, my question comes in on that. We're down to three. What is the?
It's to approve the minutes.
I abstain. I was absent.
It's getting
Okay,
deeper.
so it sounds like
Why don't we go ahead and defer that until our next advanced plans meeting? What is that date?
The next meeting will be March 13th.
These aren't official minutes though, right?
No, they're summaries, but I think we still have to, if we're having to take motions on it, that still would fall under that category.
and often we find that they can be helpful for an item or an issue that comes up later on at MAPC. We've got these. What we can do for this one is we've always got the video that's posted. We can also post the draft minutes online, just so if anyone wants to see them in between now and when you'll consider them again, they can.
But since we are lacking a quorum, let's go ahead and just move that over to March 13th meeting, if that's okay. Our next item is item number 3, dealing with parking and unified zoning code updates. Mr. Justin, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Chairperson and committee members. Justin Constantino with the Planning Department. This is the first of several receive and file items on our agenda this morning. I'll go ahead and kick things off with the Parking and Unified Zoning Code update. The MAPD is currently undergoing a process to review and align our parking requirements with community goals. The effort will focus on the potential updates to the Unified Zoning Code and the comprehensive plan. In April of 24, staff solicited proposals from qualified companies to provide professional services to assist with the undertaking of this process. In September of 24, the RFP selection committee interviewed 3 consultant firms, and the city entered into an agreement with the chosen consultant, Camiros, in November of 2024. The project kickoff meeting between the city and Camiros occurred on Monday, January 13th. Staff and representatives from Camiros discussed the project timeline, branding, and the formation of a steering committee and technical advisory committee. Staff has begun providing Camiros with GIS data and relevant zoning and variance case history. Staff anticipates continued discussion with Camiros in the coming weeks, with an emphasis on the formation of the steering and technical advisory committees. That sums up my report on that, and I'm available for any questions.
Are there any questions for Justin? Seeing none, thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am. What office are we working with for Camiros?
For Camiros, what do you mean office? I'm sorry.
Which location?
So Camiros is based out of Chicago. The primary consultant that we're working with is based out of Louisville. Sure.
Any additional questions? Okay, thank you, sir. This is for receive and file. The next item, number 4, the comprehensive plan updates. Justin?
Sure. Just wanted to go ahead and provide you with an update on our comprehensive plan. Back in October of 24, the planning department released a request for proposals for qualified consultants to provide professional services to review and produce amendments, potential amendments to the existing community investments plan or the comprehensive plan. Those, the RFP included potential changes to the locational guidelines, the 2035 future growth concept map, and the urban growth areas. The city has finalized an agreement with Professional Engineering Consultants, or PEC, and expects the project to commence during the first quarter of 2025. Since we have signed the agreement, staff has met with the consultants from PEC for a pre-project kickoff meeting to discuss data sharing, project timeline, branding, and the formation of steering and technical advisory committees. I would note on this item that we do have an upcoming agenda item on the MAPC agenda this afternoon for the annual review of the comprehensive plan as part of requirement by Kansas state statute. This agenda item is different than that. So I just wanted to clarify that this is specifically for the comprehensive plan update for those three items I mentioned earlier, the locational guidelines, urban growth areas, and future growth concept map. And that concludes my presentation.
Justin, will any, the comprehensive plan, the zoning code, or would that be available online for any of the commissioner members to look at and review?
Yes, so all those documents are available online. I know we have shared those documents via email with all of you previously. We can certainly do that again. And then as we go through this comprehensive plan update, staff will continue to give updates on our progress with the project.
Okay, thank you, sir. Are there any questions for Justin? Seeing none, thank you, sir. Next agenda item, number 5, College Hill Neighborhood Plan. This is also a receive and file, and Justin, guess what? It's you again.
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to give an update on the progress of the neighborhood plan. As you all are aware, we've been working with College Hill neighborhood stakeholders to develop a plan for the neighborhood for a little while now. The plan would serve as a guide for future policies, programs, and infrastructure. We are currently working with a consultant and a 15-member steering committee that was appointed by the City Council back in November of 2023. The project team has since hosted a community kickoff meeting, individual focus group meetings with businesses, stakeholders, churches, and nonprofit organizations. The project team hosted our most recent steering committee meeting in person from 4 to 6 o'clock p.m. at the Plymouth Congregational Church. At that meeting, the steering committee discussed strategies and actions and future land uses in the neighborhood. We do have another meeting coming up next week on Wednesday, February 19th. This meeting will also be held at Plymouth Congregational Church, which is 202 North Clifton Avenue from 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock p.m. And the committee will be reviewing a draft of the neighborhood plan.
Thank you, sir. Is there any questions? Commissioner Warren?
Justin, just where's the end line on this? Do we have an idea of how long it's going to take to final up any action?
Yeah, the great news is that we are looking at a draft, or at least portions of a draft of the final plan. Ideally, within the coming weeks, we would like to have the steering committee on the same page with finalizing that neighborhood plan document. So we're getting there as far as the plan document is concerned, and then the follow-up component to that would potentially be the overlay plan. So right now, the neighborhood plan though is drafted and it's ready for review by the steering committee.
Any additional questions? Seeing none, Justin, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item 6 on the agenda is MAPD updates. Scott Waddell, Planning Director.
Yeah. Is it okay if I do it from here?
Absolutely.
Is everyone comfortable with that? So just taking you through some of the updates on the document. On page 2, shows our number of cases. So we're still pretty early in the year. We do count meetings ahead of time because we have closing dates, so we know what's coming up on MAPC agendas out into the future. So far, year to date, we've had 52 cases that have gone, non-subdivision cases that have gone to the MAPC. So we are on track. If this trend continues, that we would have about 250 cases by the end of the year. We know that that's going to vary, that's going to change, but just know that we're looking at a pretty steady amount of cases in terms of overall averages. If you go to page 3, there's a graph at the top, and that's the one that shows how many cases have come in and at what time for what meetings. This one is really interesting because as commissioners, you know that at the end of 2024, we had a lot of cases that were coming in. You had some very long agendas for that one. Likewise, that happened at the beginning of this year, 2025. We had current plan staff that were getting pretty stressed by the amount of cases and holidays and everything going on all at the same time. Fortunately, it dropped down. We've been a little bit lower, but you can see we're right back up on another trend to come up and down. We continue to look to see if there's any kind of trends over the years, and you can see that second graph that looks really messy with all those lines. And it just shows that there really isn't much in terms of trends that we can predict from year to year in terms of when cases are going to come in and when they're going to drop off. But we continue to monitor, and we'll see how that goes. But it looks like we'll have another busy year if things continue the way they have. On page 4, we're looking at subdivision cases. This one, again, lower case counts overall. But who knows? We'll see how it turns out. On page 5, it shows just how it's been kind of spiky as well. Started out real high at the beginning and then went down to 0 cases the next meeting and then up again. Again, looking for trends, but we're not seeing anything significant in that in terms of readily identifiable. On page 6, though, I draw your attention because the same trend in 2024 is proving true in 2025, which is we're seeing a lot of subdivisions that have a large number of lots, residential lots. One of those, though, this graph shows 524. One of those I'll note is a replat of an existing plat. So I think there's something like over 100 lots that's in that one. So you can probably discount about 100 lots out of this count for overall new lots that are coming online. But I think even today at the MAPC meeting, you'll see one that has a substantial number of lots. So it's a fair amount of activity there. On page 7, we get to the staffing. We're currently hiring for 2 positions, an associate planner in current plans division and the combination inspector. The associate planner is there to provide additional redundancy for our platting processes. Right now we have Greg, who is our sole person who does that. So they'll provide some redundancy there and also some additional capacity for some other types of cases. Then the combination inspector, that's a part-time position, and that is actually funded by licensing fees for short-term rentals. So this individual would be working on monitoring that, and they'll be able to take kind of a heavy load from JR and the other crew down in zoning enforcement on that. So bottom of page 7 is just some history on hiring. Page 8 is a little bit new. This is, we're looking at our web pages hits in terms of how many people visit our top 5 pages. We don't want to give you all the hits, but what we do is we go through and we can identify which of our pages are the most visited. And we take those top 5 and we just count how many hits and we give this a graph. We'll try next month to tell you what those individual pages are so that you can see what they are. I can tell you typically what we find is that there are people visiting our main page and then visiting the case information, people looking up what's happening with certain cases, where they're located, what the next step is.
I actually have 2 questions.
Yes, sir.
On the graphs where you're showing basically year to date for 2025, what is the comparison compared to last year at this time? Are we higher or lower?
You know, we would have to do some research on that, but we can get that back to you. You bet.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to see where we were last year and maybe the year before that, to see, you know, things are just coming out of the block slow or heavy or whatever.
Okay, I'll add that.
And then you mentioned a staff person for to monitor the short-term rentals. What would prevent that person from getting swallowed up with other details and not just for that purpose that person was hired for?
Yeah, and that will be management's role to ensure that they're not working on anything else. And the reason why is because if we do find that they're starting to want to work on zoning issues or they start to work on sign issues, The problem is that they're funded by the licensing fees from short-term rentals. So that is what they are constrained to work on. So
Yeah, because sometimes staff members, when things get a little slow, or as far as that employees in general, they'll put them off other areas to basically keep them busy or whatever. And I'm just concerned that that individual will get sort of swallowed up in that. And thank you for clarifying that the fact that that individual salary is coming, from the short-term rentals, that shouldn't be used for any other purpose, so.
yeah, and what we'll do is we'll keep track of their hours and their workload, and then we may have to adjust their hours, how many hours they're working and such. At this point, we've got estimates from what JR has done, but it's a little bit unique because the program is just getting started. And for instance, right now, we're getting to the point where licenses are having to be renewed for short-term rental. So we're starting to see those renewals come in because it's been 12 months. In addition, what we're seeing is that there are some cases that they have not come to compliance, they've not become compliant, and so they're going to court. So JR's attending those as well.
Thank you, sir. Is there any other questions? Seeing none, do you have any additional for us?
I would just highlight, we've talked about short-term rentals, really, that we're in the 12-month period and we're starting to work on hiring that position. Page 11, we're into the solar energy conversion systems. I would just highlight there that the city council had a discussion about this just, I think on Tuesday even. And at that meeting, it was brought up and there was a vote taken to request that the county commission consider allowing large-scale solar in the urban growth area for the city of Wichita. And so that has started a dialogue between the city and the county. We'll see how that dialogue goes. And so just want to keep you updated that that has occurred, and we'll see what happens from that.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So the next one then is event centers in the county. That one is going back to MAPC Advance. Will be back here in June. And then the College Hill Neighborhood Plan, you got an update on that, as well as parking and zoning. And then on page 20 is daycares and zoning, and that's an item that's on the MAPC agenda for today. So that's all I've got.
Okay, great. Thank you, Scott, appreciate that. The next item on the agenda is public comments. Is there anyone from the public that would like to make a comment or say anything? Seeing none, is there any additional business that we need to hear? This is going to be a great day. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. There is no, there's no additional business, so I will call the meeting adjourned. And the next meeting is March 13th at 10 a.m. So you all stay warm, drive careful.